Welcome to Trading Day, Day 5, brought to you by Matronics. Week 1, well, I'm normally teaching my goldfish how to swim. There's no action. Today has been plenty and the week has been jam-packed as I welcome you. Fox Footy out of trade. These three are untouchables. Lee Montagna, Scotty Gullen and Johnny Ralph. Welcome, boys. There has been plenty happening today. Johnny Ralph, going to come straight to you. A premiership magpie is on his way to Melbourne. That is massive news.
It certainly is. I think this could be the value pick of the trade period and effectively a third rounder with a swap of 61 and 71, and he's Brody Mihocek, and I've just spoken to him. So he admits that he was floored by the modest one-year offer that came his way from Collingwood late in the season, and he just couldn't get his head around the fact that if it was that he signed what eventually became a 2-year deal, that would be it. His career would be done in 24 months. Brutally honest about those contract conversations with Darcy Cameron, also with Jamie Elliott. They all looked around and then eventually they stayed. He said, I know with the Pies list, when I was going through my contract talks with them, they were worried about the age demographic. I know at 32 that's not old. I wanted to tell them that I had many years left in me, and they still kept to that narrative. So he was really concerned about that, and he believes he has, of course, the 2-year deal at Melbourne and then many more years left. I love this deal. I love the fact that he's such a selfless footballer, and I think if you're Jacob Van Rooyen, Joey, you'd be thinking, this is the player I need to become. And right now, he's my wingman. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's a great get for Stephen King and the Melbourne Football Club, as you touched on. I mean, he's one of the more honest key forwards in the competition. He's going to provide some leadership for the young Van Rooyen. They've got Jefferson there as well, and he's going to be able to support Melksham in that forward line. And so it's a good get by Melbourne. And sometimes as a player, you know, you feel that mortality. A 1-year offer, you know, a little bit of money. You start thinking, OK, how much am I valued at this football club? What are they thinking about me long term? And it opens the door, Scotty, for another club to you know, show the love and show how much he can offer and extend his career. And in the end, it was too big of a pull to head to the Demons. And I'm sure he's going to miss the Pies. He'll be a club, you know, great at the Collingwood Football Club premiership player, but it's a good get by the D's.
Well, that's the thing. Crawley, he's never got that big contract, has he? He's been this workhorse, and, you know, he came in the hard way, and he's been this kicked the goals, did all the team stuff, but never got the big check. And then, yet again, they've gone, oh, we love you, but here's not minimal wage, but not much more. So then Melbourne, and they, as they should, go, well, we need a guy who, as Joey said, can teach these kids, and he's heart and soul player.
Well, the age demographic, he's seen the cliff because next year, after Pendlebury, Steele Sidebottom makes his decision, there will be a massive cliff, Joey, in terms of their age demographic. So he's seen the light at Melbourne, but from a forward output perspective, he was pivotal to Jamie Elliott this year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I mean, it's going to leave a massive hole in the Collingwood forward line. The workhorse, the guy that provides contests, that allowed Jamie Elliott to get a different matchup in McStay. And now it's going to be a new look forward line. There's no doubt about that. You know, Dan McStay's got his injury concerns. Can Jamie Elliott, who was sensational this year, back up and kick 60 goals again next year? It's going to be a tough ask. And they've got a couple of youngsters. Charlie West hasn't really sort of made a name for himself yet. And they've got their eyes on Jack Buller from Sydney, who's only played a handful of games as well. So it is going to be a bit of a different look alongside Tim Membry in that forward line next year.
So they're a defender short and a forward short, really, now.
And they're still not committing to Mason Cox. They're still saying to him, we'll have a decision for you post-trade period. There's some issues there. You see his emotions there as well. And as he said to me, I knew by that stage that I was gone. I knew probably a fair way back I was gone. So I think right now the Suns are open to trading both 7 and 8 for Christian Petracca. They would want points back. They don't care about early points picks. All they want are points. So if you are someone like this player in Mihocek, you basically maybe giving up your premiership aspirations. But they get 2 young kids in. I've got Langford, Lindsay, Windsor, Cozzy Pickett. Yeah, you might be saying, I won't win another premiership, but you might get another 4 or 5 years out of your career. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, well, let's hear from Brody Mihocek. He spoke this morning on the Melbourne Demons website.
Obviously, everyone would love to be one club player, but my time at the Pies was up, and the opportunity come at the Demons, and yeah, something excites me about Kingy coming in as a new coach, and yeah, playing with a younger group and seeing what I can bring as a leadership role and a older player coming in. So yeah, it's a fresh start. And something that excites me to still get the best out of my career and see what I can do with the younger group.
it's a rare thing, isn't it, when he says, I wanted to be a one-club player. Like, the movement we've had this trade period and going forward, Joey, it's going to be pretty pivotal that you got to just take your opportunities when you get them.
Yeah, it is, but it's also important to know these players, they don't make these decisions lightly. They don't want to necessarily leave. He would have loved a 2-year offer from Collingwood, money that he felt was fair and worthy, and he would have stayed for sure. But sometimes, as much as you want to be a one-club player, you need to make decisions that are in the best interest for your career, for your family, and that's what he's decided to do.
You had that decision, Joey?
A little bit. You've got to weigh up whether you've got to weigh up what you value, and what is important to you. For some people, it is money. For some, it's success. Others, to be a one-club player. And as we said, Mihocek's wrestled with a lot of those, but he wants to extend his career and felt that he can do that at another club.
And some would say Joey got the folding stuff a lot earlier across his career. He didn't need the escape.
No, I wrote it down. He said, 1 more zero and I'll stay. Yeah, all right, no worries. Let's talk about that. So Brody Mihocek leaves, and then we've got Rowan Marshall who wants to leave, but now that deal, Scotty, is done. He's not leaving, he's staying as a Saint.
Yeah, well, St Kilda are telling him he's staying as a Saint at the moment. So, as we know, Geelong's all into Curnow, and pick 19 they thought would do the deal for Marshall. They still love Marshall, but I think St Kilda's dug in. So now over the next 5-6 days, we're going to have to deal with Marshall how much can he live with TDK coming? Now, Joey, you've got strong thoughts about this. Can they together gel and make this work? TDK's management, Tom De Koning's management, want the Ryder Marshall thing that worked a few years ago. They are desperate for him to stay. I'm not sure he's going to end up there.
It's a difficult one. Before I get your thoughts on it, Joey, my thoughts as outside, because you're obviously a St Kilda man, so you'll have a little bit more information on what's going on at that footy club. And I love and I was praised their Gubby Allen and the strategy of the club. They've got to do something. So they've gone out and spent money. But I'd find it hard if I'm running next to a guy and he's $1 million or close to $1 million more than me. I just think from that premiership model, and we've seen and heard premiership players talk about, OK, we take unders to keep the group together. They've gone the other way and paid overs to get people in, but you've got existing core talent that have, held your footy club together. That would be a hard pill to swallow.
I'm not necessarily in that camp, because if you want success as a player, and I'm sure Rowan Marshall does, you need to bring in more talent. And Rowan's been well paid for a long period of time now, and he's turning 30, and his contract's getting towards the back end. I think it might have even been front-ended a bit of his contract, so the numbers do look stark. But De Koning's 4 years younger than him. They've earmarked him. Yes, we know that Tom De Koning's probably getting paid overs, but it's been the snowball effect. It is a different approach that St Kilda are taking this trade period. No one's denying that, but everyone's saying, well, at least they're having a crack, because the other alternative was to sit on their hands, to keep a similar list that they've had for years, Ralphie, that aren't getting the job done. So I know it's different, and some people are taking their time to get their head around it, but at least they're having a go. I
think that's the one thing that people haven't realised, that everyone's saying that they need to get this salary off their books, nearly $1 million. It's not that much. It is a front-ended deal. So, of course, when they've had so much salary cap space, they've been able to pay him the lion's share. So they're saying, why would we do that? Why would we move him on when it's so easy to do that? Do you feel it's destabilising? Do you feel like you'd be almost jealous of him, though, Dicko? Like, how does that play out across a training paddock and across the weekend? And
no disrespect to St Kilda, but they haven't been up in finals for a while. And when you build culture and you build a group, you might be able to go down that route where you go, oh, we need to pay overs to have this guy in, but they haven't been at that stage yet. So they're coming out and going, right, we're going to swing the bat, we're going to have a go. But I think from Rowan's perspective, Ralphie, and you might know a little bit more, it wasn't so much the money initially, it was probably the communication that we're going with TDK, and that wasn't communicated to your number one ruckman.
No, and I think that's really interesting, and that's certainly the narrative out of Geelong, that he was never brought along with a ride. Now, we were reporting as recently as last October that these massive deals were coming, and in fact, St Kilda was one of those clubs. If Rowan didn't know that Tom De Koning was coming to that football club, he wasn't on Twitter, he wasn't on TikTok, I don't know how much of that stuff I believe. I think what St Kilda would be saying, though, is that, look, we know we can play forward. We know that he's been in best and fairest with dual ruckman there with Paddy Ryder. We've got 5 on the bench. We've got Max King's knee this year held together with cellophane. Imagine if we move him on and then we lose a TDK or another player. So I think it's the right move to keep him there. But again, it's all about the communication.
Yeah, I think
he digs in though.
Well, St Kilda have got the whip hand because he's contracted, and I think they need him. I think that if with Max Heath leaving, they don't really have a backup ruck, so they need the 2 rucks. I think we're going to see more teams going forward with 5 on the bench will play the 2 rucks. And Rowan Marshall can play as a forward. He got drafted to St Kilda as a natural centre-half forward who ended up becoming an elite ruckman. So I think they can work hand in hand. And I think St Kilda, particularly with still question marks around Max King. We don't exactly know what condition Max King's going to come back in. I think they need Rowan Marshall, and that's why they're pretty keen to keep him.
And the flow on, I mean, it hurts Geelong. Like, if Curnow doesn't happen, then they don't get Marshall. Geelong haven't added anything potentially, and that's not where you want to be sitting next Wednesday.
Yep, so Geelong are saying right now we still have that pick on the table, even though they're having a crack at Curnow. But St Kilda are saying we're done. We've moved on. It's not happening. Interesting to see what plays out by Wednesday night.
Well, let's talk about Curnow. So he's made his intentions clear, want to go to Geelong, and we've seen Rowan Marshall make his intention clear. St Kilda say no. Carlton are probably still in a position where they go, it's got to be a really good deal to get rid of our best forward in terms of, what they're offering.
Oh, 100%. I mean, to me now it smells more Sydney than Geelong. We love the 3 first rounders. It was a sexy topic yesterday. And then you go, hang on, it's like I've bought a house that looked good on the internet and you get there and there's high rises all round it. I mean, that's what those 3 first rounders were. They were
It looks like lamb.
in the 20s.
It's actually mutton, isn't it?
Yeah, the 3 first rounders will end up being picked in the 20s most likely.
And everyone knew that, but it was a nice, sexy thing for them to go, here's 3 first rounders.
And that's all they can afford to really offer Geelong.
Yeah.
So they've given their best crack, it feels like.
Then if you pivot to Sydney, you hear Will Hayward getting mentioned, even talking about it. Roboton's been mentioned. I'm not sure whether he's the right fit, but Sydney at least feel like they've got a player also that they can throw in. So my feeling on this one is Sydney's going to pivot in more than Geelong.
I think we can stop the narrative that Carlton is not up for trading him. They absolutely now are up for trading him. It's just whether they find the right trade for him. So Andrew Mackie has again made clear today we're not putting players into that mix. It's not about Brian Myers. It's not about Shannon Neal. City's on board with the 2 first rounders, and then it's what is it? So James Rowbottom's not interested in being traded. We talked a couple of weeks back about Will Hayward, and I think he's still in the mix there. Joel Amartey's been told in the last 3 days it's not going to be you. Don't worry, we're not trading you as part of that deal there as well. Will Hayward's a complementary piece, but he's not a star. So, I just keep thinking to myself that Carlton knows this guy's a generational player, and they bring in some bit parts players and some role players and some later draft picks. It still could fall in a heap for them.
Well, Ben Ainsworth goes to the Blues and Corey Durden goes to Port Adelaide. So from a Blues perspective, they've got to improve their list or make a decision. Charlie leaves, we rebuild, or Charlie stays. Joey, from a forward line, when you look at the Blues, if Charlie leaves, what does it look like?
Yeah.
And are you confident in they can kick a winning score, or Michael Voss has got something up in his front half?
Yeah, well, no doubt it's going to be a massive hole, but maybe, if they decide to let him go, we know they are going to refresh their list a little bit. They're going to make some changes, take a couple of steps back to go forward, and we see that Ben Ainsworth's come. There's no doubt they needed to address the small forward role or those high half forwards that they've lacked, so that's an addition. But if you take a look at, we had a bit of a look at what Carlton's forward line will look like without Charlie Curnow next year, and it is going to be a transition. They're going to have Harry Mackay, who did win a Coleman without Charlie Curnow in 2021. They are going to rely on some of the young talent coming forward. So Ashton Moyer has shown some signs they're going to put more faith in him. Brodie Kemp was one who played forward before he got injured in round 5. He kicked 5 goals in that round 3 game against the Western Bulldogs. They've got young Hudson O'Keefe, who played late in the season, who might be that second ruck forward that, he's still pretty raw in his development, but took 8 contested marks in 5 games. And then you've got, a lot of guys that are on the periphery with their small forward lot and some half forward. So guys that didn't play this year, Cottrell and Frankie Evans showed some bit. But, there's a bit of depth there, but not a lot of star quality.
You're pushing pretty hard to be glass half full on that one. I don't think any of the top 8 sides are quaking at their boots playing in that one. Look, I agree. I think Hudson O'Keefe looked really good. Ashton Moore at times there. Look, Ainsworth's just a nice goal-a-game player. In fact, I think he's played 150 games in his 158 goals in 137 games. Yeah, that's a big sample size to say that he's a modest player right now who might be a nice additional piece to them, but he's no superstar. So, if they do trade Curnow, that is not a decision I think Michael Voss would be making. Joey, who do you think is actually making the ultimate call on Charlie Curnow? Is it Voss, who has 1 year left on his deal, or is it Graham Wright looking at the long-term strategy?
Yeah, unfortunately, if they trade Charlie Curnow, this isn't going to be what Voss would want ideally. He's got 1 year to go on a contract. He's desperate to win and push for finals, but I think it's a bigger picture. I think Graham Wright's come in and the club have looked at their list and feel they're not good enough and see the opportunity with Charlie Curnow requesting a trade to maybe get some young talent and get some couple of first-round draft picks. They've got some father-son academies coming in this year, which is important. There's Dean, there's a young fella, Ison. We know about Andrew Walker's young fella the following year. So if they can get it right and get some top-end talent in the draft, maybe they can replenish with Jagger Smith coming back into the side and they take a few steps backwards to go forwards.
And that Tasmanian draft that we all know is coming. So if you're going to do it now, you've got to get it now, you've got to get him in the next 2 years, make it happen before Tassie comes in and it drifts away.
Yeah, the issue for me is that Harry Mackay is not Jack Crisp. You know, he doesn't just churn out 23-game seasons. So, look, I think he averaged 20 games across the previous 4 years, and then he only played 12 this year. So he's got the concussion issues. He's had a couple of those now. He's had the knee surgery. We know he's been really open and missed a couple of games with mental health and was amazing with that kind of stuff in terms of his transparency. But, you know, he's not the bloke there that you go, we just pencil him in for 60, and we've got an elite small forward who will kick 40. Because let's face it, Jesse Motlop is not yet that elite small forward. So they've got that many holes, and if you take Curnow out of that, you know, it's a chasm there. That's the real concern for me.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a big gap between Harry Mackay's best and what he could do, and we've seen him kick 7 and look like a superstar, and then we know that the unreliability is still there with him at times. So
does he thrive? He's got that personality, I'm the man. I'm not sure it's my forward line, get away. He likes to have help.
And the Blues Pro Scouts obviously sent a lot in Campbell Chesser, who's made his way to the Blues as well, Ruffy.
So Carlton pitched this today as he's an elite kick, he's got breakaway pace, he's an absolute superstar. That's what the trade spotters or the draft spotters thought 4 years ago when they picked him at pick 14. Looks, these are some of his best kicks. So he came back from an ankle injury this year and played the last 4 games. He's got pace, he tucks it under his shoulder, he runs hard. I think sometimes, like Ed Langdon, though, he can kick that high ball into forward 50. So it's great that this club has a player who can play on a wing with real pace. He's still got to work on not being one of the butchers of Lygon Street, Wall Street. Yeah, I think he's an exciting player, but again, he needs to lift to be the player they need him to be.
They've got a first-round pick a few years back in for 41. That's not bad business.
Yeah, it's not bad. I'm not convinced he's been able to prove himself as an elite AFL player yet. He's still got a fair way to go. And a bit like Ainsworth, good player, but those two aren't really changing the fortunes of the Carlton Football Club, you wouldn't have thought. But maybe with some top-end draft picks coming in, if Curnow does move on, they can rebuild.
Yeah, it's the Jimmy Toompa strategy, isn't it? You take the top 10 or top 15 pick and you think we can turn him into the player we thought he would be 3 years ago. Now, for this bloke, he's shown a little bit. Again, if you're a Carlton, whether it's Greg Williams, you get him out there, you improve what was once elite kicking, you rediscover and unlock that one, maybe he becomes a 200-game player for Carlton.
Jimmy Toompa.
You've got to drive by.
It was either him or Richard Tampa.
I like it, Johnny. Let's talk about Leek Aleer, the bombshell yesterday, Joey. A pretty big move from St Kilda and a bold one. We know their strategy to go out and buy players. They've been, Johnny, into him for a long, long time. He said his goodbyes to the Giants in tears at his exit meeting. Pretty emotional, and fair to say he was emotional on his European holiday yesterday when he found out the news.
Yeah, he's shattered. His management firm is shattered. I spoke to his manager, Dylan Smith. He doesn't want to talk on the record about it. Now, the only good news today that has emerged is that North Melbourne is kicking his tyres at least. So there is a 3-year deal there that GWS have offered him. I think he's probably going to have to sacrifice about $1.6 million in terms of guaranteed money to stay at GWS. 800 grand compared to 400, and of course 3 years compared to 4. So I think what North Melbourne feels is like we've locked in our key position defenders: Whitlock, Will Dawson, Logue, Aidan Corr. We think he's more of that third defender. I think the problem is that the more we saw of him, we realised that he's got some flaws. We watched a game with Jai Farah, the medium-sized Gold Coast forward, who ragdolled him a couple of times. You think, Charlie Curnow can ragdoll him, not Jai Farah. And so I think what maybe St Kilda did in the end is just they fell out of love with him. They had him locked away. They didn't think they had many players coming in. And then they got Flanders. And then they got clearly Jack Silvani. And then they got others. And they just realised that he was surplus to requirements.
I think he'll do well. GWS are going to wrap their arms around him. Like what Jason McCartney said today. And the kid's only played 20-odd games. I mean, stay there for 2 or 3 years. Then your big contract might come. St Kilda and others will go, if you develop into the player everyone thinks, yes, you're not getting the big check now. And it's quite terrible how it's happened in a way. And I think if you're in a different management group, like if you're in the Paul Connors, Tom Petroro, this doesn't happen because they do deals around deals. And if you get treated like that, well, we won't let you take that player or that player or that player. So there's a lot of politics that could have gone on. But I hope the kid stays there. I think they'll wrap their arms around him. And if he develops into what we think he is, he'll earn his money down the track.
Joe, it's about trust for St Kilda. I know that St Kilda would say, we don't care, we're doing the right thing by us. Is it going to hurt them down the track? Because for St Kilda, that's the only thing that really matters. If they want to get someone across and says, I saw what happened there. You speak to list bosses today, they're a bit shocked by it. They don't normally care what happens to other players who don't affect them. They're like, we're stunned by what happened here. So it's not just these things happen in football. This is an outrider across the last few years.
Yeah, it is rare, and potentially it could have some ramifications down the track, and it is not a great way to do business, let's be honest. And you feel for Leek Aleer, he thought that he was going to come to St Kilda, but at least you can't promise players. You've still got to get deals done, and St Kilda feel that they didn't get a deal that suited them. And I'm with you, Ralphie. I think maybe their priorities changed a little bit. I think once Jack Silvani came on board, which was a late call to choose St Kilda, Sam Flanders was a late call as well. They prioritised some others. They prioritised Liam Ryan and Rowan Marshall now staying and those sorts of things. So they have changed tack, and it's not ideal, but I think it shows that St Kilda, they are ruthless. They're not here to make friends. They're trying to do the right thing by the footy club, and that's the way they've gone.
Did the bean counter in the back office suddenly come in and knock on the door? Gubby, can we have a quiet word? There's a lot of zeros adding up here. Can we fit him in as well?
Well, I think the pitch was that the board said to us we couldn't push more future assets, we couldn't trade more of them. I don't think anyone believes that. If they really wanted him, they could have got him for a third rounder, because GWS does that when they want players to shine elsewhere. So I think that was a furphy too.
I'll tell you what, I love Gubby's quote. That's the highlight of the trade period so far. We've got cash and we're fishing. Let's go. Clayton Oliver, he's said that he wants to go to the GWS Giants. I'm still bullish on Clayton Oliver, that a new club, new fire, the culture at the Giants and what Adam Kingsley's put in place might straighten the ship for him a little bit, but that's good news.
Joey, Tom Green and him, very similar players.
Yeah, they are.
They're both talented.
They are, but I did the numbers the other day. They have massive deficiencies with their clearance and contested ball game. The GWS Giants. Everyone talks about their back half game. They didn't want to play a back half tsunami. They want to play a forward half game, but they just didn't win enough contests through the middle of the ground and around clearance. So he's going to provide that. Yes, it's not the perfect mix of midfield balance with Tom Green, but they're both quality players. As you said, Digger, Adam Kingsley's a bit of a hard taskmaster. I think he'll get the best out of Clayton Oliver, and hopefully for the Giants' sake, they get more of the Clayton from a couple of years ago. But I don't think he's going to be an All-Australian Clayton Oliver anymore, but he's still a very competent midfielder who can win contests.
He's a blaster right now, as you saw even with those goals. He needs to get Kingy's Leg Drivers Association going. And what GWS says is people are shocked when they come here and realise how hard we train. So he's just not going to roll in. If he can get there and get through a massive pre-season, they're big ifs, we understand that. Maybe he can get back to not that player, but something approximating that.
Now, I'm excited for Clary and what's ahead for him at the Giants. Well, tonight I'm excited because it's Friday night footy on Fox AFLW Round 9. It is the Bulldogs and Essendon from 7 p.m. and it's at Whitten Oval. Strap yourself in for this one. It's coming to the pointy end of the season. For the best race of the year in a place tomorrow, the top 10 shootout. Yep, sweet. Qualifying is just complete on the mountain for Sunday's Bathurst 1000. Defending champion Brody Kostecki has grabbed provisional pole position for the great race. Top 10 shootout, pole position tomorrow. Tomorrow, 5:06. And the great race, 11:45 on Sunday.
Caro one, that Sam you were using Caro. Was that today?
I didn't see the scene.
He posted something of Sam you were using Caro back in the day. So it's almost like they've told him,
Oh, yeah, that last bit.
please don't do this.
No worries,
And he's
mate.
like, no problems. Press
Has
the
it
button.
changed?
Can he talk to me?
I didn't see that one.
He should be able to hear you if you ask him to chat to you.
Yeah, he's talking, but he's still low.
Yep, that's fine, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Hodges.
Qualifying is just completed on the mountain for Sunday's Bathurst 1000. The defending champion Brodie Kostecki has grabbed provisional pole position for the great race. Top 10 shootout tomorrow for pole position. Channel 506 and the great race 11:45 a.m. on Sunday. Start your engine. Scotty Gullen, you're up and about there. You can't wait for the great race. Doesn't matter.
Not as much as Timmy Hodges, but I love it.
Well, start your engines. Brodie Smith's engine's still running. One thing about his off-season, I thought it might have been quiet. And at Geelong, you get a little bit of rope just to, you know, be yourself. And Joey's grinning at me. He's given them a great licence down there, Chris Scott, but is he at the stage now where he has to just say, right, we need to rein this in a little bit in terms of the media and the circus around it right now?
I don't think it'll be the coach telling him that. I think the coach disappears and comes back in about February. It's Steve Hocking, and I spoke to a couple of people down there who know Hock as we do. He's not afraid to have a strong conversation. He was Bomber Thompson's right-hand man back in the day, and they had plenty of hard conversations. So he's the one who's going to sit down with him. And how do you do it? So social media, we understand this generation, and Bailey Smith makes a lot of money. That's his life now. So, but there's a lot of celebrities who put the phone down. Someone else can run that account. They can run photos of you and your drinks that you've got to sponsor.
And your six-pack.
And your six-pack. They've got plenty of them that they can keep going out. I think Geelong will be saying, mate, you've just got to put the phone down, because at the moment, you know, third in the Brownlow, second in the BNF, we played in the grand final. You've been a total win until you started just fray a little bit, abused the photographer. We saw what happened on Mad Monday. So they're going to sit him down. I don't think it's as big a deal for them right now, even though there's been all these little issues. But Steve Hocking is going to sit him down and go, no fireside chat. This will be a proper office, close the door job.
And have they not had the conversations with him throughout the year, Ralph? It feels like they would have had a few, or not to this extent.
They had a conversation with him, and they said on the back page of the Herald Sun, we're actually going to make sure that he does the right thing. And the next morning, he starts putting up posts about Sam Newman, historical stuff, you know, taking the mickey out of Carolyn Wilson. Now, Robbo doesn't mind those kind of things, but look, the whole point, Dogs pushed him hard and he said, not for me, I'm out of here. Then he gets to Geelong and they say, do whatever you want. It's going to be really hard for them to unwind that. I think it's a massive challenge for them. They've got to get him right over the season, because otherwise we know that in the past he has really gone off the deep end, and that's a massive challenge.
And that's a challenge for the Cats. They talk about embracing players for who they are. Until they don't like who they are, and then they try and rein them in. So it is going to be a challenge, there's no doubt about that. There's been a lot of talk about Bailey Smith, and he's just got to find the line.
Yeah, he doesn't know at the moment. He's still young, he's naive, he's immature.
Pull your head in, Bailey. Pull your head in.
Well, they're normally out of sight, out of mind down in Geelong.
Oh.
He's put them back on the map. That's what Bailey Smith does. Well, trading day back Monday, 5 p.m. Don't forget the footy tonight, the Dogs and the Bombers.